Jet engines are the most difficult pieces of technology to master. We still haven't mastered it, nor have the Chinese. Our army headquarters and the artillery directorate then fought tooth, nail and claw to see that it wouldn't get into the Indian army. Why? Because the gun was supposed to be 18 tons and too bloody heavy. One lesson that India has to learn is from the Ukraine conflict, medium artillery is the war-winning factor. Even when we had the original blueprints of the Bofors gun, we just did not dare to make our own. Russia is producing 3 million rounds of 155mm artillery ammunition a year compared to 1 million total between United States and all the countries of NATO. One of the best initiatives of the Modi government has been its dramatic emphasis on Aatmanirbhar. Everything Desi was supposed to be inferior, everything PHOREN, foreign was supposed to be damn good. Please like, share and subscribe to Chanakya Dialogues. The simple fact is that no nation can aspire to superpowerhood or even great power status unless it has autarky in the production of its key weapon systems and also the concomitant munitions. In the Russia-Ukraine war, we are seeing that if Ukraine's original armed forces, their equipment has been destroyed 3 times over. It is another matter that 3 times the Americans especially and the Europeans have rebuilt from scratch the Ukrainian armed forces. But today it is a battle of production. How many missiles, how many cruise missiles, how many tactical ballistic missiles can you churn out every month? It is a matter of how many fighter aircraft, how many drones you can churn out every month. It is a matter of how much artillery munitions, which is proving to be a war-winning factor in Russia-Ukraine war, that you can churn out every month. Russia is producing 3 million rounds of 155mm artillery ammunition a year compared to 1 million total between United States and all the countries of NATO. So that by obvious has a decisive impact on the outcomes on the battlefield. So autarky in weapon systems is a must for any nation that is aspiring to any measure of great power status. And if you want to be a superpower, then it is a sine qua non that you need your own design and manufacture capabilities. You can't depend on external sources of supply and external supply chains. That is why one of the best initiatives of the Modi government has been its very, very dramatic emphasis on Aatmanirbhar. A lot of this was given a lot of lip service in the previous government. But I think it is this government which for the first time has been very serious about the concept of Aatmanirbharta, of self-sufficiency, of autarky in the manufacture of its weapon systems, and it has even gone to the extent of putting out negative list. These items which we have the capability within the country to manufacture will just not be imported. Their import is banned. This has been done for the first time and the government has shown seriousness. The problem is that we've been talking of this Aatmanirbharta and autarky ever since we became independent. All governments have been harping on self-sufficiency. But there was a very neat little trick that our public sector enterprises and our DRDO, etc. conspired to give us an optical illusion of self-sufficiency. How? The simple device of semi-knockdown kits, completely knocked down kits, knockdown kits and semi-knockdown kits and completely knocked down kits, which in a sense meant that you get the disassembled parts from the original equipment manufacturer, you get them to your country and you assemble them. And then you get to ludicrous situations that if you are asked to do one improvement in them, you are incapable. Let me give you a story. In just before the 71 war, we had the MiG-21 fighter jets imported from the then Soviet Union. Now, these were then armed, these delta wing aircraft were supposed to be equivalents of the F-104. They were, and it was a very formidable fighter. It is one of the fighters which have been maximum produced. But the Russians had designed it as a pure interceptor. Now, in a small air force, we couldn't have, segregations of pure interceptors, ground attack fighters, and quite obviously we were going in for multi-role kind of an aircraft. So we wanted to give the MiG-21 was firing only air-to-air missiles for air combat, limited numbers. With them over, even its own self-defense, if it got attacked on the way home, was problematic. So the Indian Air Force wanted to fit a cannon, a 23mm cannon, onto the MiG-21 aircraft, and they asked the HAL to do it, and they said, threw up their hands, we just can't do it. We have no permission, we have no this, we have no that from the original equipment manufacturers. And then the task was given to the Air Force workshops, and before the war they managed to fit 23mm cannons onto the MiG-21s, and which proved very effective in the ground strafing role. That is the problem. When you don't design a thing from the billboards, drawing boards itself on your own, you will not have the source codes, you will not have the know-how. Even the metallurgy is often a problem. We had the cases of, we were building in the country T-72 tanks, T-54, within the country T-72 tanks, now T-92 tanks, but we didn't quite, we're not very good at the metallurgy part of it, and therefore we had instances of the barrel just flowering, even in test firings, even in firings on the range, training, barrel just bursts because of poor metallurgy, even though you have the blueprints. So the fact of the matter is that if you really want autarky, this optical illusion of semi-knockdown kits, completely knockdown kits just doesn't work. It just simply does not work. You have to design your own equipment from a scratch. You have to build up design teams, only then can you achieve something substantial. The only service that really was from the very outset very keen on indigenization was, to be very, very emphatic, the Indian Navy. They had opened a ship design bureau in the Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, and their officers were doing courses there in ship design. And therefore, one is very happy to state today that the Indian Navy is one arm and service which has done the maximum by way of Aatmanirbharta or indigenization, and they are today building and not buying a navy. That is, I think, a great credit. I was giving you the example of the fitment of the cannon onto the MiG-21s, which were only by design supposed to fire surface-to-air missiles, and after they had fired them off in air-to-air combat, they were supposed to hightail it back for home, and did not even have a means of self-defense. And I have told you how the Indian Air Force workshops, base workshops, they managed to fit that gun. And Batala is a prime example of innovation of any particular weapon system that you can give them. They could repair it, copy it, etc. But we have some very genuine examples of successful design to execution projects. The first one of them was the HF-24. Marut, Kurt Tank, a German designer, a famous German designer, was hired by India, by the HAL, to design the Marut jet fighter. We had gotten into a contract with Egypt that they would provide the engines. They were working, I think, on an E300 jet engine. But jet engines are the most difficult pieces of technology to master. We still haven't mastered it, nor have the Chinese. It's only the Americans, some European countries, and the Russians who are capable of doing jet engines, and very few other countries. That is why we have still to go in for the 404, GE 404 and 414, etc. engines from the United States for our light combat aircraft and its subsequent variants, and even the advanced medium combat aircraft, AMCA. But the fact of the matter is that we were supposed to get the engine from Egypt, made the engine to the airframe which we had designed. It is a wonderful airframe. It's a wonderful airframe. Unfortunately, we had to go in for the Egyptian engine failed, and we had to go in for a low-powered British engine. The British made sure we never got a good engine. They didn't want us to get autonomous. They didn't want us to get self-reliance or to promote our indigenization. And, you know, this was a very underpowered aircraft. The Air Force, of course, at that stage was stricken with the foreign bug, as it is called. And they eased out this aircraft. I'm sure if we had sort of tried to go in for a better engine, even today this airframe is so good that it can be the basis of almost of a fourth generation fighter or 4.5 generation fighter, even providing you match the airframe with a very suitable engine. That was the first effort. This team was disbanded. When we had to work on a light combat aircraft, well, the design team was just not there. That we had to assemble a brand new design team, and we know how much time. Of course, there were other unfortunate factors like American sanctions, the nuclear explosion and all that, its aftermath, denial regimes that swung in, cracked in to delay the LCA program, and it lasted decades. Because the original design team of the HF-24 which could have sort of contributed such a great deal to the LCA and further variants was just not there. So we disperse our design teams, we let them go home, we let them scatter, and then creating a new design team, we start from a scratch, we reinvent the wheel all over again. Similar story in the Army, Indian Army artillery. We had Brigadier Gurdial and his team which designed the 75-24 gun largely for the mountains. It proved very good. It served us in our war 65 and beyond, and proved to be very effective. Then he designed the Indian field gun 105 millimeter, and even that gun proved very effective. Its variants proved very effective. Not only did we use it, some other countries also, I am told, tried to buy it from us, you know. But once again, Gurdial Singh died. The team was allowed to disperse and vanish to the four quarters of this country. And then when we had to get a 155 millimeter gun for ourselves, we had the option of, we had to go in for foreign options. And then we went in for the Bofors, and the rest is part of history. The Bofors scandal gave such a bad name to these foreign purchases that even when we had the original blueprints of the Bofors gun lying in Jabalpur Ordnance Factory, we just did not dare to make our own. It's only when General V.K. Singh took charge and he went and he found those design blueprints with the factory that he ordered them to start building it in India. You know, we had decided to mediumize our artillery before the Kargil war. Let me make this very clear. I was in the military operations directorate then when we decided all other calibers would be standardized around the 155 millimeter caliber, which has the throw weight, the punch to make a difference, and we don't need different grades of ammunition. We had 75, 24, 105, 122, 130, 155, etc. A whole host of calibers, you see. Therefore, when we decided to mediumize, we had to go in for a foreign option, and then we just bought about 450, which did yeoman service. The gun was damn good, did yeoman service in Kargil and other conflicts, but the 1,200 that we were supposed to make in India, that never came through. The Bofors scandal blew up in our faces. Nobody wanted us to manufacture these medium guns. So now then the DRDO and the Ordnance Factory Board and the Artillery Directorate got together to make the Dhanush, the 155/35 millimeter caliber, variant of the Bofors. Once again, it suffered a bit at the initial stages from metallurgy, problems of metallurgy. In the meantime, we had Kalyani Forge, a private company which was heavy into forging. They offered to help us with the metallurgy of the barrels of the T-72, etc., which were flowering, but the government didn't want to take it, the DRDO didn't want them, they were kept out. He then decided, he took it upon himself that he would make a good medium gun for India. A Swedish factory was being closed up, they were selling their factory as scrap. He just told them that I want to buy this factory lock, stock and barrel. He got it, had the plant shifted to India, and then with it he has designed a series of guns, truck mounted 105s, but 155 millimeter gun, and then he worked with the DRDO to make the A-tags. Now the A-tags has proved to be a master gun. It has a 48 kilometer range, more than the American 155 millimeter gun of equal caliber, and then also we have it can fire 5 rounds a minute to the American gun which fires 3 rounds a minute. But our army headquarters and the artillery directorate then fought tooth, nail and claw to see that it wouldn't get into the Indian army. Why? Because the gun was supposed to be 18 tons and too bloody heavy. The simple question we asked, what if 45 ton T-72 tanks, T-90 tanks can go to Ladakh and to the the Karen Plateau in Sikkim? Why can't these 18 ton guns go? What is so problematic? It's such a good gun. See the rate of fire, see the range. That's what we need in medium artillery. To my mind, if India, one lesson that India has to learn is from the Ukraine conflict, medium artillery is the war winning factor. It was so at the end of World War I, it was so at the end of World War II, and in Ukraine it is the war winning factor today, right? The Russians have a tremendous superiority in artillery and it is telling. We need 1800 medium artillery guns of the 155 millimeter caliber to mediumize our artillery. We haven't done it so far. We've just got in some 300 plus Dhanushes. We need much more. We need 1,800, and before you get into the next war, you please don't add them by trickles of 10 a year. We need to induct them at accelerated pace. You have a very good gun in the A-tags, but we are asking for changes to reduce the weight, etc., etc. I don't understand. If that gun can fire that long and that good, that rate of fire, and it has an electric propulsion unit for local mobility, for shoot and scoot purposes, I think we should induct at least 1200 to 1800 of these guns right away. Give it to a number of private companies so that we can increase the speed of production, and we can also export this gun so that we reduce the individual costs by mass scale production, larger production runs. We need to think of indigenization. I am glad the government, I think one of the greatest achievements of the Modi government has been this Aatmanirbharta emphasis, this emphasis on indigenization, autarky and self-sufficiency in weapons systems from the design stage onwards. We need to go into the IITs, motivate the youngsters to come to our private companies. I'm afraid the DRDO, the public sector units will never pay them enough, and the work culture there in the public sector is such that brilliant young men will not be allowed to prosper. Seniority, age plays a hell of a lot of factor rather than your ability, and your innovativeness. So let the we are privatizing our defense manufacture. Thank God. It's happened just in time. With the public sector, our indigenization efforts had drawn a cropper. But with the private sector, we can go places. They can get tie-ups with OEMs in foreign countries and make their own design. Let them hire the best talent from our IITs. Let them pay them what it takes to draw them in, to give them an incentive. And I think we need to now indigenize or burst. And we are doing it in a very successful manner. The LCA, light combat aircraft, is a success story. The BrahMos is a success story. The Akash is a success story. Even the Arjun tank is a pretty good tank. It's just one of those sad things that it was, again, because of weight, it was not accepted in very large numbers. But we should not lose those design teams, because when we have to make our future ready combat vehicle, then we need those people who worked on the Arjun, so that we can take it forward and break this cycle of, looking to foreign, which had become a culture from a colonial hangover. Everything Desi was supposed to be inferior, everything PHOREN, foreign, was supposed to be damn good. Anybody who was England returned was heaven born, etc., etc. I think 75 years after independence, we need to junk all those attitudes. We need to go the way we are going. The Indian Navy, I think, has paved the way, and now the other two services are following. And I think the Indian talent is amazing. If we tap that talent, we are doing it in terms of drones, and drones are the future. Drones have created a revolution in military affairs. The sky is the limit as far as innovation is concerned, indigenization is concerned, Aatmanirbharta is concerned. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. So kindly like, share and subscribe to the Chanakya Dialogues.